Chapter 14, Naomi E. When I used to go to the beach with Mom and Dad, we'd get a car and drive out to Jones Beach on Long Island, which is the best. There are these huge parking lots, and sometimes you walk through tunnels where your voice echoes over and over, and it all smells like rainbow sherbet. Mom always said it reminded her of when she was a girl, and it made her happy. And that made me happy, but it never made my dad happy. Going to the beach actually made him miserable. He always complained about the sand coming home with us, how long the drive was, everything. And yet here we are on the subway going to the beach, and Dad's all smiley. There's only one seat, and Valerie takes it and pulls Brianna onto her lap, so Naomi and I grip a pole on either side of my dad. It was supposed to be a beautiful day, Valerie says, looking out at the gray sky when the subway comes out of the tunnel. It was, Dad said, but it'll be fun because we're all together. Really? I'm going to build 14 castles and be the ruler of them all, Brianna sings. The people sitting near them smile at her and then at Valerie. An old lady with a thick accent, Russian or German or something, says to Valerie, "She is absolutely precious." Valerie smiles and Brianna sits up tall and straight like a super proud bird or a statue. I switch from holding the pole with my right hand to my left so I can turn and face away from them. At the last stop, we get off at the train, and Dad takes the 2 bags Valerie's carrying and puts one over each of his shoulders. I remind Dad how much I love the boardwalk, which is the only good thing about going to the beach in Brooklyn. I went with Shomara last summer, and her brother Kwame won 3 basketballs, the other Naomi says. Did he give you one? Of course not, she says. But then, when we got soft serve ice cream, he got green. Green! It's pistachio, I think. But who chooses green? Good question, I say. Dad, can we maybe do the boardwalk too, because it's a little cold, but not too cold for walking, and definitely not too cold for ice cream, and Naomi, not today. The voice he keeps using with me is not one of my favorites. I can tell I'm getting on his nerves. I wonder if he knows he's kind of getting on mine too. Last night, when I asked him if he had talked to Mom about when I could go to California, he complained to me about leaving messages for Mom and missing calls like it was all my fault. I just want to see my mom. Once we reach the beach, it feels so weird to slide off my shoes and socks and put my feet in the not at all warm like it usually is when I'm at the beach sand. It smells like beach, like, I don't know, maybe seagulls? Brianna drops to her knees and starts digging with her hands. Hold on, Brianna, Valerie calls. We have blankets, and once we're all set up, I have shovels and pails. Just slow down. Brianna lets out a big sigh and flops down on her butt. Fine, I'll wait, she says. Valerie hands the other Naomi a big, colorful blanket and says, Can you and Naomi lay this neatly on the ground? We each take 2 corners and spread the blanket out in the air. It's a beautiful blanket, blue and green, and like pretty fabrics always do, it makes me think of my mother. I remember what she said about Edith Head, how she studied people to get to know them. I watch Naomi as we slowly lower the blanket to the sand. She reminds me of a teacher, the way she stands with her back so straight. Maybe confident is the right word. Edith Head would make the other Naomi confident costumes for sure. Before we even finish smoothing the blanket out, Brianna throws herself on it, getting sand all over everything and making the blanket wrinkly and messy. I call that this is my blanket, and you can sit on it if you help me. I'm building 14 castles, and I might need help with the goats and... Goats? I ask. Your castle has goats? She doesn't know this, but I love goats, especially baby goats. A castle with goats sounds interesting. Brianna rolls her eyes at me in a way I've seen the other Naomi roll her eyes. Every castle has goats. It's like a big swimming pool that goes around the castle with goats swimming in it. The other Naomi shakes her head. It's a moat. I've told you moat, not goat. Well, I'm going to need water, so where are the pails for getting water? Valerie smiles but doesn't look happy. Why don't we sit here for a while, maybe eat something? Before you run off, Brianna, I thought we could all sit and talk. Could I please have a shovel? I need to start. 14's a lot of castles. Come on, Brianna, Dad says. Let's go get some water. I know you have a lot of work to do. 14 is a lot of castles. I watch as Dad, holding Brianna's hand, walks toward the ocean. I'm trying to not think about how not nice about going to the beach he always was. A lot of times Mom and I went without him. I wish I could stop looking, but I can't. If I studied Brianna to create a costume for her, it would be every loud color, and it would have arms and antennas reaching in every direction like a sea witch or a bright storm cloud octopus. I'm so grateful when Valerie asks if I want a cupcake because, yes, I do. And it helps me pull my eyes away from Dad and Brianna. As Valerie's reaching for the box, I notice that the other Naomi is busy writing something in a little notebook. She sees me staring and puts the notebook down and slides her leg over it. Maybe she's been studying me just like I've been studying her. She looks like she got caught doing something wrong, and I can almost see her brain thinking of something to say. "So what do you think about that project?" she asks. "What project?" "The one Julie talked about, remember? She said now that we know how to use Duotech, we can start creating our game. And the best one will be in that contest?" I look in the cupcake box. I do not want to end up with disguised coconut again, so I take a chocolate one. Can't go wrong with that. "Solid choice," the other Naomi says. "I'm having this one. It looks like vanilla, but I'm pretty sure the cake is coconut." I knew it. "It's delicious," she says, "and I can't believe I'm getting it before Brianna because she..." And then she stops talking. I see why. Dad and Brianna are walking toward us, looking like great buddies, each carrying a bucket of water. Brianna's water is sloshing out of the bucket, and she's already wet. Dad is smiling and asks, "And where should I put it, Your Royal Highness? Where will you be building your 14 castles, m'lady?" I turn back to the other Naomi. "Is that what you were writing down in your notebook?" I ask. "Stuff about the Duotech project?" She seems really into our class, like maybe she'll grow up to be a woman gaming the system. "No, I was working on a list. I write a lot of lists." "What about?" Maybe I was right. She is studying me. "We have the Geo Challenge at school this week, and I want to remember to get some books at the library." Brianna plops down between the other Naomi and me and starts digging. "Why do you have to do that right here, Brianna?" "To make it easy for you to help me." She turns to me. "And you two." Two little boys and their parents walk past us with a ton of beach toys and spread out close to the water. The boys take off their shoes and walk slowly toward the ocean and start screaming as they turn and run away from the small waves. The mom takes pictures of them with her phone while the dad runs with the boys also screaming. Or maybe the dad is a friend and the boys aren't brothers. Maybe one belongs to each parent. Maybe they're both named Isaiah. I asked the other Naomi, "Did you ever make a list about names and what we should do about that? Because, look at us. It's like impossible to tell us apart, right?" Yeah, it's a joke I already made, but she seemed to like it. "Impossible," she says with a small smile. But no, I just write a lot of lists, and yeah, I also wrote about that Duotech contest, mostly a bunch of different ideas I thought might be fun to work on. "I guess I wasn't really listening," I say. I take a bite of the frosting, and oh, is it good. "We all have to do it?" "Yeah," Naomi says, like it's obvious. Brianna throws her sandy shovel on the blanket. "I'm gonna make people instead." She stands and turns toward the water and starts to make stick people in the sand using her foot. The boys near the ocean stop what they're doing and stare at her. She looks like she could take over the whole beach if she wanted to. "Is there anything you like to be called?" I ask, thinking about how Annie calls me gnomes, but I wouldn't want anyone other than Annie to call me that. It wouldn't even make sense. Any nicknames?" "Nope," she says, licking her fingers. "You do too," Brianna says, running toward the blanket, sand flying. I had no idea she was listening. "I call you Queen of all the Queens sometimes because you're so bossy. You could have lived in those castles if I built them, Queen of all the Queens." The other Naomi looks mad and embarrassed, like she wants to pinch her sister's arm really hard. It has to be hard being Brianna's sister. I want to help. "So, about that project, do you want to maybe do it together?"